Hello again. Now, since his move from Manchester City to Chelsea, Cole Palmer has become one of the most talked about players in English football. He was integral in the 2 trophies that Chelsea won last season. But could he be on his way back to Manchester, to United? Well, today, Liam Rosenior addressed speculation about Palmer's future.
I've had numerous conversations with Cole, and he seems very, very happy to be here. He is very, very happy to be here. He's a huge part of our plans in the long term. He's an outstanding player. Every player goes through difficult moments in their careers in terms of injury. I don't think it's any reflection on his quality. He's an outstanding footballer. But my job and the club's job is to get him in a place where he can consistently perform at the level that he wants to. And there was frustration in the Brentford game, not because he wasn't happy here, just because he couldn't perform. He was in pain. He couldn't perform to the level he wanted to do for the club. He's a great kid, and he's an outstanding player, but we have to make sure that we look after him in the right way. That's why I haven't involved him in the last game.
Interesting. He would say that. Cole Palmer, former Manchester City's Cole Palmer, to Manchester United. Really? Could that happen?
No. I'll give you a straight answer. These stories have emerged this week that Cole Palmer is unhappy at Chelsea. He's got friends in Manchester. Apparently he misses those friends. That's why he wants to move back there. He grew up as a United fan. His favourite player was Wayne Rooney. There's pictures of him on social media when he's very, very young, wearing a Manchester United shirt. So people have sort of got hold of this story and kind of run away with it. But I think what people are forgetting is that Cole Palmer has a contract at Chelsea until 2033. So there's 7.5 years left on his contract.
Yeah, but he's not going to stay for 7.5 years, probably, is he?
Well, he may not, but it would take an extraordinary offer for Chelsea to be tempted to sell him. Remember, this is a player who I think was a player of the tournament at the FIFA Club World Cup last summer. He got an award from President Trump. He's had a difficult season because he's had injury problems. He's been out of the side for a while. He's come back in. He's had recurring problems. There was talk that maybe he needed groin surgery. He didn't have that surgery. Chelsea have been trying to manage his injury issues. But the good news is he was back training today, and I think he's likely to play against Crystal Palace on Sunday. So the short answer to your question is I can't see him leaving Chelsea anytime soon.
OK.
The answer is I can see him leaving Chelsea.
You can?
Yeah, I think Chelsea, I'm convinced that Chelsea have 2 business models. Carve would disagree with me here. They buy players to go into their first team, but they buy players to sell them and make money. You know, they're sensible, clever businessmen, and ultimately they want Chelsea to be successful on the pitch. But if they can turn a profit on a player, then that's absolutely something they'd be interested in. They paid £40+ million for Cole Palmer. If someone like Manchester United, who's looking to do a rebuild in the summer, turns around and sticks £100+ million on the table, I think Chelsea would find that difficult to reject, as much as they know that Cole Palmer is a massively important and key member of their team. I think when the money gets put on the table, that's where the Chelsea ownership would say, OK, let's have a conversation, because their recruitment is so strong. They'd say, well, actually, we feel we can replace Cole Palmer. We've also got loads of really talented youngsters that can also play as a 10 anyway. So I'm intrigued by the Chelsea model and what they achieve with silverware, but how they sell players. And we saw it in the summer, 200, 300 million pounds worth of player sales. They've been very good at generating income to offset the money they spend.
Hang on a second. Isn't that the point, though? Mark's hit on it there. Clearlake Capital are a hedge fund company, aren't they? They're in it to make money. Chelsea fans are not going to like to hear it, but they're there to make money. So isn't that the flaw in this project? That the fact is, if someone as good as Cole Palmer and really good offer comes in, he's gone.
Well, look, they're a private equity company. Mark makes some very, very good points. The only thing I would say, 2 things I would say, is one, I don't think there's anybody out there who could afford to buy Cole Palmer. I think to tempt Chelsea to sell Cole Palmer, I think you're talking about 150, 200 million pounds. That's just off the top of my head. The second point I would make is that I don't think Chelsea would ever sell a player of that quality to strengthen their direct rivals. And I think they see Manchester United as a rival for the top 4 places. So if they were ever to sell him, Barcelona, Real Madrid, PSG, if he was interested, maybe. Look, we're getting into hypotheticals. I don't think he's going anywhere. He's got a contract until 2033. And he signed a new contract, I think, or an
September
extension
24.
in 24 as well. So, I mean, he's a Man United fan. A lot of people were. It doesn't mean they're going to end up playing for Manchester United.
Fair enough. Douglas Luiz, any legs in this link?
Was he a Chelsea fan when he was a kid?
I don't know. No, maybe. Maybe we'll dig something out on social media.
Frank Lampard was his hero.
Yeah, there you go. This goes against the grain, you know, with what we've seen from Chelsea over the last few transfer windows. They like to sign younger players and mould them and develop them. But there is a genuine interest in Douglas Luiz, 27 years old. Lack of game time at Nottingham Forest, where he's on loan this season, just to 5 Premier League starts. Would he go to Chelsea? Possibly. Could you see this one happening? Maybe. They're also interested in Marcus Senesi, who's 28. They're looking at centre-back. We know that they're in dialogue with Rennes over Jeremy Jacquet. But Douglas and Luiz, I think we just put it as maybe, unlikely, but don't rule it out. Are you happy with that?
I think you've covered everything there.
Have I sat on the fence enough?
Cover Lucas Paqueta for us. What's the latest on his story at West Ham?
He wants to go back to Brazil for personal reasons. The Brazilian season is about to start in a few days' time. Flamengo, one of the biggest clubs in the world, want him. It's a dream move for him to go back there. The problem is Flamengo are not putting enough money on the table to tempt West Ham to sell him. But he's let West Ham know, I want to go. Now, there's been talk that maybe Flamengo would be willing to pay up to around 40 million euros, including add-ons. I still don't think that would be enough. There's also the factor you need to consider where West Ham are in the league table at the moment. Real fears about relegation. There's talk that he may be sold to Flamengo and then be loaned straight back to West Ham for the rest of the season. The Brazilian transfer window is open until March. So I think this is a story that could rumble on. But I think at the end of the day, he will become a Flamengo player. It just depends on whether it's going to be in this window or in the summer, because his heart is set on a move. Regarding their game this weekend against Sunderland, I think Nuno suggested that he was ready and available to play in that game. We've been getting some information today that he may have a small back injury, which may mean that it's unlikely that he can play tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see whether he's in the squad.
Mark, you've got 20 seconds or so. How difficult to keep an unhappy player?
Very, very, very difficult. I did an interview with David Sullivan a couple of years ago, and he said, if you've got an unhappy player, you have to sell him. But you have to.
But this is their best chance in a long, long time to win the Premier League. Will Mikel Arteta strengthen? That's coming next.